Hello, folks. This is Heidi with your September soul message. I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth right now. It's one of those months. I finished the blog finally, but who knows if what's said in the blog is actually going to come out of my mouth. It's just one of those kind of things. This one is called The Great Mystery. So first of all, I thought that we were done with the trio of greats. June, the Great Purge; July, the Great Release; August, the Great Surrender. And it's interesting because even the energy of it, I usually dip in a little bit before the end of the month, and it just wasn't coming. And also I had gone on vacation and accidentally forgot my computer, which wasn't an accident. It's like I wasn't supposed to know until I'm supposed to know, and then the teaching is so esoteric and so out there that it's nearly impossible to pull down. It feels like giving birth a little bit. And the way that birth and children come in their own time, and there's a cadence around it, and it's held in the great mystery and the whole thing, which of course, I mean, and this really kind of comes into the teaching this month, is that, you know, in the Western world, we schedule births. Like, we have some kind of arrogant idea that we are the ones that are supposed to say when a child comes into the world, which I'm curious about how that affects people's birth charts. It's really interesting as I was reading or feeling into this energy, thinking about how does that affect when we schedule a birth. But anyways, different subject, but kind of the same. So where do I begin? The greats, the tantrum that I've been talking about, the letting go, the purge, the letting go of the thing that the object of desire, and then we have the release, the tantrum, the reaction around that, and then we have the surrender to not having it anymore. And I thought that we were done, but here we are with the great mystery, which kind of speaks to the tantrum, like the gift that comes at the end of the tantrum, the knowing that comes in after you release something and you surrender it. And it's like we're actually being asked to surrender to the mystery, and we didn't know that that was coming. And my own ego gets involved even in the titling and the oil and everything that I'm going to talk about today, because I thought we were done with this, right? So when I lean in to ask what is the energy of September, I assume that it's going to be something totally new, right? So I have to deal with my own ego around that and allow it to come through, what actually wants to come through. So there's a greater teaching here this month, and I feel like it's one of those things that's going to continue to unfold as we go. One of the things that I talked about in the blog, I think, unless I deleted it, I don't even remember, is an oracle reading. It's the way that an oracle reading or a card, if you pull it about a certain thing, but then you leave it on your altar for a while, it speaks to you over time, and it unfolds and it evolves over time. And where does that information even come from? And it's like it comes from the great mystery, the spirit. You know, it comes from an unknown place. So the first image that I was shown, we're all about circles this month. That is like what we are meditating on, and I'll get into that when we get into the focuses for the month, where to spend your energy. The first thing that I was shown was concentric circles, and I was like, okay, what is this? And it was flat and like 1 or 2 dimensional here, right? And then it started peeling open. I wish I had an image of it, but just basically like a spiral that goes up. And I've seen this many times before in spirit readings and in intuitive healing sessions. When a person is someone who's come into this life, and it's like each one of the spirals on the circle is a different lifetime, and they're dancing between the lifetimes in one lifetime. And it's hard to even explain that, but I know it to be true because I've seen it in session. So it's like, that's the weird, wild, mysterious energy that we're in, is like knowing without knowing why you know it. And it's also massively leaning into the unknown. So concentric circles, when I leaned into that, I was like, oh, it's the way that like chakras and math and music notes are all connected, and they overlap and they speak to and through each other, but you're not really sure how and why, and the mystery that lives in all of that. It's really wild. And then the next thing that I was shown was the toroidal field. So if you don't know what that is, both concentric circles and toroidal field, look it up and look at the images of them, because it's important for you to get the visual of it. So toroidal field, I believe there's one like that happens around the earth too, but I'm talking about the one that happens around the body, and it's the energy around the heart, and it goes out. It almost looks like two loops, or really it's like a giant donut that sits around the center of our heart, and it extends out 8 feet. And it's why you can pick up on energy from somebody else without them ever speaking. And you can do the same thing too. So there's also a message in here about what we're communicating, even on a nonverbal level, and is that what we mean to be communicating, and to be aware of that, because our fields come together and they overlap, and then we're communicating through that. And so there's a message in here about clarity of words, and clarity of purpose, and clarity of intention, and being aware of what pulse, what energetic signature you're sending out, and knowing that you are emitting that all the time. And is the message that you're emitting what you actually mean to emit? And another thing that came through is this idea of masking. And, we all do it. We all put a mask on to either protect ourselves from other people seeing us, or to protect others from seeing us. It's a whole thing. Like, we all do it. We pretend to be someone else, or we pretend to be who we think we want other people to be, and the whole thing. But really, why are we doing that? Because everyone can see right through it, and everyone can also see the mask. So it's kind of nonsense that we do that, but we're always doing this kind of projecting thing. And I feel like energetically, overall, we're really, really being called to congruence. Like, our inside and our outside have got to match. And if we are noticing that the spaces that we exist in, the people that we spend time with, the work that we do, the physical space that we spend time in, geographical, like all of those things, if it doesn't feel like it matches with us, it's going to be like this chafing sandpaper. And we're needing to come into congruence with that. So that energetic signature, when things are not in congruence, is going to become really apparent and available to us. So the other thing is, one of the major energies for this month is the mystery of not knowing. And we are really, really being called to dive into that sense of not knowing and allowing spirit to fill the void, right? But we can't hear the message from spirit unless we let it go. And I think that's the teaching of the tantrum, which is like, we have to surrender, like we did last month, in order to create the void, in order to create the space for spirit to come in and give us the answers. Exactly the way that this message went. Like, I went and sat down and was like ready to write the whole thing. And all I was seeing was this concentric circle thing. And I'm like, okay, nothing more is coming. And then it's like the great mystery, where when you lean in to try to know something intellectually, and you're trying to kind of grasp at it, like just as you're leaning in to grasp at it, or you feel like you have it in your hands, then it turns to sand and falls through your fingers into nothing. And that was exactly what happened. I had to completely let it go for a walk, sleep on it, start again today. And, which I like to have these done before the first of the month anyway. So I already felt behind. And then what was this beautiful teaching that came through for me was, it was so frustrating for me. I usually don't talk to people or share like the energy or the process that I'm doing this, because I like it to be really clean, the energy of it to be clean. And I don't, consult with people about it. But I was sharing with my husband this morning, like, God, this message is just going to kill me. Like, what is going on here? I cannot pull it down, because it's like a shamanic journey or a dream that felt really vivid in the moment, and you understand it energetically, but then to try to put words to it is like you start to lose it, or like a dream starts to fade over time. But what was beautiful is that I talked to him about it, and then he shared this beautiful Zen koan that is like exactly what we're in. And so I thought that was so beautiful, because it has to do with a dream catcher, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's like the weaving of both sides together. The not knowing and kind of the surrendering into sharing with him, and then he shared this beautiful thing back, and then suddenly it started to have movement. And so it shows me that in the mystery, like, we have to what's the word that we have to surrender into not knowing, and almost into the sharing or the doing things differently than we normally would, in order for what needs to come through to happen. And I'll share the Zen koan when we get to the end. But I want to talk about dream catchers, because this is the image for the month. And what ended up coming initially, I thought, okay, I'm going to look for an image of a toroidal field, or I'm going to look for concentric circles, but I didn't find anything that I liked or wanted to use. And then in my own home, as I'm walking around, like, I have a couple of dream catchers in my house, and they just started screaming at me. And I was like, oh, yeah, because the dream catcher is the same image. So here's what it is. If you think, imagine a dream catcher, right? It has a physical container, right? It's a circle. So that is the container. And then from either side, you've got string weaving from one side, and then it's going across, it's weaving, and then it's coming back. So already right there, you've got this beautiful image of polar opposites being woven together to bring your energy and your focus and your attention into the center. But when it's finished, and I should have brought one here, when it's finished, you've got this, hard external shape. And then you've got string, so it's sort of full, but most of the center of it is open void space, which is such a beautiful image for us. And so it's not necessarily dream catcher in the way of like we're trying to manifest McMansions, like from the book The Secret. That's not what it's about. It's more about leaning into the mystery, and also asking yourself the question, are you, with your toroidal field, with your heart, with your energy, are you weaving a dream, or are you weaving a nightmare? And to be aware of how you're contributing to the environment, because you're constantly interacting with it, right? So I love the image of the dream catcher for this. And it's also a mandala, like it's all there. It's really this meditation on circles. So let's see if there's anything else. I guess I'll lean into the 3 focuses for the month. So one of them is meditating on circles. So I did a shamanic retreat years ago, and one of the activities that we did was meditating, staring at a mandala for about 10 minutes. And then she had us get up. We were sitting outside, and she had us get up and walk around and look for that image. And it was so powerful, because we got up and went around and looked, and there was no place that you could not find it. It was everywhere. It was in trees, plants, everything, your physical body. Like you realize when you look at the top down on a tree, it is also a mandala. When you look at that from a vertical place, when you look at the toroidal field from an aerial view, it is a mandala. It is a circle. It is the dream catcher, right? So meditating on circles this month, if you can find a mandala, a dream catcher, whatever image of the different ones that I've talked about, find a picture of it. It's worth Google. That's what I said in the blog from what is it called? I can't remember the name right now. Zach Galifianakis. Okay, so meditate on that 5-10 minutes, and then get up and go around outside and see where that image is in that shape. And you'll start realizing how, this sense of sacred geometry and math and music notes and chakras and sound and vibration, it's all speaking and talking about the same thing. And it's like The teaching comes not through words, but through experience and through energy and vibration. The second thing is to practice not knowing. It's the most uncomfortable thing, but we have to do it. Like, physically practice when someone asks you a question, like saying, I don't know. Or if you don't have the answer to something, just allowing yourself to sit in the not knowing of that. Because the teaching that was really coming through as I was writing is the knowing comes out of not knowing, and it's a life, death, rebirth cycle. If we don't allow ourselves to lean into the not knowing, we can never get to the knowing, which then fades back into the not knowing, and it goes around in a loop, right? And then the third one is, if you desire to dive deeper into this wild esoteric, swimming pool that we're in this month, is to look up the Zen koan that my husband was talking about. It's called Not Knowing is Most Intimate. So if you just Google that, a bunch of things will come up. And you can read the story. I found one link and I was going to include it in the blog, but it was so long I didn't have time to finish it before wanting to come on here. So, but it was so beautiful because as he was telling me the story, I was like, oh, here we are having this beautiful, intimate moment of him seeing me and understanding what it is that I was trying to communicate. But it's through a koan. It's not through, intellectualism and all of that. And then here we have this beautiful moment by me leaning in and doing something that I don't normally do. And then he was able to share in that. And it was just this beautiful, gorgeous thing. Okay, shall we see what the card is for this month, and then maybe more will come. And of course I'll talk about the oil, for God's sake. It's just, it's all too much. It's just one of those ones that I'm like, I am a student of the shit as much as anybody else. Like, what goes on right now? Okay, well, wow. Okay, the vow. I mean, look at this. Absolutely beautiful. So the intimacy that I'm talking about is right here on the card with the hands and the bird and the spade. Of course, the cards are circles. Anyway, we know that. Okay, let's see what the vow says. But this is wild. It's just so, it's like, why do we do that thing where we feel like we have to know? And we'll give any answer in order to just know something. And we'll just fill in the blank with any old goddamn thing that isn't true at all and isn't accurate. And we do it constantly. And then we make projections and we make errors in this way because, we're trying to know something that isn't knowable or isn't time to be known. Why can I not find this page? Here we go, finally. Okay, the promise, the oath, the contract. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts, karmic ties are formed, and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. Can you not? I mean, you can't make this shit up. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The importance of our words and our intentions and what we're putting out there. There is a reason the great mythic stories of our past often include the recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. The tricky part is that reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unseen forces of the world. So this is what I'm talking about. And I think that's why the Dreamcatcher is coming in this month, because it's this way that we don't realize that we're spell casting with our words and with our energy. And when just one word of something is off, it takes on a different meaning. The ancestors bear witness. And I'm very much seeing that when I'm seeing the concentric circles. And, this woman that I did a reading for one time, she had just had, I forget if it was a son or daughter, but a baby, and I think it was a boy. And she had been with him in many lifetimes before. And I could see that it was almost like she was tap dancing along the different lifetimes back and forth. And he had been, her husband, her brother, all these all these things before. So there's this sense of, the circle, it doesn't only go up, it goes down too. And so there's a lineage piece here that's coming through. So the ancestors bear witness. The laws of nature respond. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten. So breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. It makes me think of like when we don't tie things up in one life, we bring it into the next life, and then we have this, tete-a-tete, or this like challenge with someone, and we don't understand why. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. So that would actually be a really cool practice to add this month, is to kind of make a list of all the unfinished business that you feel like you have. And maybe you don't know like who it is with a specific person, but you know the energetic qualities of it. Like, oh, I have a hard time being wrong, or I have a hard time saying what's true for me, or being vulnerable, or whatever those things are, and write them down, and then almost in ceremony fashion, like move through them and tie them up and send them on their way. So you're not carrying them around. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. So that really brings in this video is going to be so long. That brings in another teaching that I did from a training long ago with this other shamanic teacher. And you've been underestimating the power of your promises. There was this crazy story that he told with a client of his where this couple had made an arrangement at one point. I think it was like, I will never leave you. I will always be by your side. And one of them died in a car accident. And then because of that contract that they had created, they were energetically tied over lifetimes because of it, and then hadn't, cut it off. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, we're in way esoteric territory and just swimming in the pool of the deep end of the unknown this month. When light, bearing witness to the shift toward destiny. When dark, unconscious vows, unkept promises, messy karma. To go deeper, learn the yamas, the 5 vows of the seeker. Anytime the energy of the vow is present, we are in the archetypal realm of ceremony and ritual. That means time stands still and anything is possible. I mean, literally when I was writing this thing, I was like, when is it going to be done? When is it going to end? Because it feels like I could like keep the energy of it open all month in order to understand it. And there is that kind of energetic property here. Think of the last promise you made. Was it to yourself or another? Has it been upheld or broken? And I'm going to insert here, I'm talking about the unconscious, unspoken vows, the promises that you have made. Like, let's go really into it here and say, what are the roles that you have committed to playing that you didn't realize you were playing? A very, very easy place to look is within your own family. Because our families are constantly expecting us to play roles, and oftentimes we take them on without realizing that we're taking them on. When I got married to my first husband, or more importantly, when I knew that I needed to get divorced, I woke up one day and was like looking around my house and saying to myself, who made all these decisions and how in the hell did I get here? And I realized, it was like the line from Eat, Pray, Love when Elizabeth Gilbert says, she actively participated in every moment of the creation of her life, but she didn't see herself in any of it. And it was exactly that moment. And I had to ask myself, who in the hell made all these decisions and how did I get here? And what I realized is that they weren't necessarily conscious decisions. They were energetic patterning. They were archetypal and familial and ancestral and societal expectations of what a woman is supposed to do at that time in her life. once you hit your 30s, it's like the house, the dog, the baby, you know, like all that shit that you're supposed to do. And now, you know, women are asked to even, it's like you got to be the stay-at-home mom and you also have to be the executive too, and you got to run that. It's just bullshit, like how much we're asked to do. But that would be a really interesting practice to add, is to just lean into like, what were the expectations of you from your family? What were the energetic expectations within the family? And how is that showing up currently in your life? And how many decisions have you made in your life out of patterning and habit, not out of conscious choice? So here's the image again. I mean, just gorgeous, right? So you've got like the freedom out of it. You have all the space that exists in this card. And then there's the center intention. And it looks like two hands being held like this, and then another set of hands around. So it's probably no surprise that the oil this month is the Dream Catcher. Absolutely amazing. I got this oil last month, and with no intention of it being the oil of the month. It is the most delicious oil. I cannot get enough of it. I was diffusing it the whole time I was in the mountains near Tahoe, and as I was walking out, every time I would walk by, I would smell something from this oil in the outdoors. I never could figure out what it was. It was like the great mystery itself was showing up already. It has like a woodsy tree smell, but also with a sweet smell, and there's a mystery in it. You're not really quite sure like what is happening. So I encourage you to diffuse this, or to wear it. Like it's nice sometimes. Here, I'll just do it right here. You can just put like a couple drops in your hand and you can rub it together. You can use it as your own like walking diffuser, but then also place a little bit on your hair, and it's like you become a walking diffuser of the oil. It's so yummy. You can rub a little bit on your clothes or on your neck. It's so yummy. But I encourage you to diffuse it or have it around you, and imagine that you're bathing it in the circle and letting it take up your whole toroidal field. Like let it sit and permeate. You know, it's kind of like the energy of meditating, and sometimes when you're meditating you might have a moment of clarity, and other times the moment of clarity pops in at a random time when you're not even thinking about it. But it's because of the commitment to meditation and to showing up to the practice over and over again that the space gets created between thinking and between the busyness of doing that container, and it allows the space. It allows space for the wisdom to come in. So thank you for bearing with me. If you've hung in this long, it's really, it's like trying to pin Jell-O to a wall or define the unknowable. I mean, it's something that has to come to us in our own individual time, and I think that will happen for us over time with the month. But blessings, namaste. Always reach out if you need anything. Beautiful Young Living gifts with purchase this month if you're interested in that. If you aren't a member yet, or if you're not a subscriber yet, there's additional gifts with purchase that unlock when you're a subscriber. And to become a subscriber, all that means is that you are earning points on all your purchases, as well as getting the 24% discount off retail. So it's kind of like frequent flyer miles for oils, and it's great. You can skip months. You can skip 1, 2, 3 months. It doesn't matter. So there's a lot of flexibility in it. You're not tied to having to buy something every month, but it's a really great way to stock up on points to get free oils and all of that. So anyway, love you, blessings, good luck in this mysterious Wild West that we are in this month, and take care. Namaste.